Hey, what's up, NBA fans? No, the title you just read is not a typo. The Houston Rockets have one of the most talented rosters on paper in the NBA, and I am very confident that they are going to put it together and contend for NBA championship this season. Here's one. If you take a second to just look at the sheer talent on this roster, block out the James Harden trade noise, block out how you think people will fit, just for a second look at all the names on this roster. So of course you got James Harden. We already know what James Harden does. He's a superstar. He's legit. We have John Wall. He used to be one of the best point guards in the NBA, and he used to be a damn near top 10 player in the league. We have Christian Wood, who's breaking out as an all-star caliber player, and right now is averaging 23 and 10 on the season. We have another former all-star, DeMarcus Cousins, who, although he hasn't been that great this season, there's still potential for him to return to what he was before, which is a 20 and 10 guy and an offensive force. Not to mention, you have guys like PJ Tucker and Eric Gordon, who in my opinion are like star role players, as in they're not bad enough to be role players, but they're definitely not a star, but they're just like really, really good role players. Not to mention you have people like David Nwaba, Sterling Brown, Ben McLemore, Jason Tate, who's been pretty good this season. All these people, even Daniel House, all these people were very, very capable rotation players, and I like them a lot for the Houston Rockets. And so we're at the point where they can easily go 10 deep, and they switched this team up a lot, man. Last year, they went small ball and failed, and they finally just got Mike D'Antoni out of there. And while, yes, James Harden has wanted to trade out of Houston, he said he's done with them, he wants to go. He's talking about he wants to go to the Sixers, he wants to go, to the Blazers, the Miami Heat. He said the Celtics are cool. He's listed a lot of teams. But I think the culture change that's coming with this coach change and just how the team is going to feel around him, I think that may can change his mind. Because, you see, Mike D'Antoni, he just had a laid-back attitude, and it wasn't just him, it was the whole organization. Laid-back attitude. I don't think, being that dedicated to the team really mattered that much. Westbrook came out and said he was astonished at how laid-back and just not serious the Houston Rockets were. James Harden, he just kind of seems like to me like he has a natural gift of being talented, right? So they never put the culture around him to push him to just go 100% every day, practice, work hard every day, and the teammates around him never were that hard of workers, I don't think. So you're bringing in this new coach, and I feel like he's going to demand a hard-working culture, a hard-working system. And people like John Wall, Christian Wood, DeMarcus Cousins, and these other high-quality role players that have to scrap and be really good, stay in the position that they're at, they're going to buy into, being a really committed team that works hard, practice every day, and tries to get better and just make the most out of the pieces that they have. And if they can get James Harden to buy into that, that could go a long way for this team. Now, like I said, we already know the talent James Harden has. I mean, he can easily average 35 points per game for you on pretty good efficiency. So, like I said, if you can get him to buy into the system, it will work for sure. But can John Wall fit with him? Well, although people will say, they're both ball dominant, I have reason to believe that they could work together. Now, Westbrook and Harden did not work. But even though Wall and Westbrook are not good shooters, Wall has consistently been a better shooter than Westbrook, as Westbrook's time and time again shot like 31% or 28% or really low. Wall usually keeps it above 30, and usually around 33. He's had some 35% seasons, so he's slightly better than Westbrook, especially off the dribble. I feel like he can hit a few more than Westbrook can. And although, yes, John Wall is at his absolute best when the ball is in his hands, he has shown a willingness to give up the ball when it's needed. And so far this season, he's deferred to James Harden when he's needed to. And it's been working out pretty well so far. Now, you don't want John Wall just to spot up in the corner all the time, but that's not what I want him to do. I want them to actually run plays, do some off-ball movement, have John Wall coming off screens, have James Harden come off screens, because it's not a one-way street. If John Wall is going to bring the ball up court, but 3 seconds in he's going to pass to someone who's going to pass to open James Harden, or something like that, or if John Wall is actually going to give up the ball, it has to be a two-way street. James Harden has to be willing to give up the ball, move it around, and find the open person. It can't just be all about their stats. Because honestly, I know John Wall, for his whole career, is usually averages about 9 assists, 10 assists per game. And James Harden is usually somewhere between 6 and 9. But I could care less if they average 4 assists per game. If they're getting the ball moving around the entire team, and they're the ones actually facilitating the offense, regardless if they get the actual assist on the stat sheet, that doesn't matter. I need them just to make the offense better, because they both have great vision and great passing ability, so they need to use it to the fullest advantage. I don't want to see too much ISO. Of course, you're going to want about 5 or 6 ISO possessions by James Harden per game, and then, maybe you have about that many for John Wall as well in the pick and roll and stuff. But besides that, man, they need to try to get out in transition, because this team is very, very fast. And we're talking about John Wall, James Harden, Christian Wood, Eric Gordon, all these people. They like to run in transition from what I've thought so far. They need to run in transition a lot and just move the ball around, man. You're one of the best three-point shooting teams of all time. If some of the best ball-moving teams of all time could have the shooting y'all had, they would just be unstoppable, man. They couldn't stop it. So if y'all can learn to move that ball around, you can do it. You know what? I think they can, because they have a lot of willing passers on this team. It really all just comes down to, if James Harden buys in, they're going to be a championship contender. I mean, PJ Tucker is just the ultimate glue guy. Of course you want him. They can still play small if they want to, just like last year. All you got to do is take Christian Wood off the floor. They have PJ Tucker at the center position. They have John Wall, James Harden, and they have Eric Gordon for the small forward position. And, I mean, you can decide what you want to do there. If you want to put Eric Gordon at power forward or something, like I said, that's if they want to go small. But what I would imagine they're probably going to do with what they do now is, have Christian Wood at center, PJ Tucker at power forward, and they can plop in whoever at small forward, and they're going to be set. It's going to be a really good defensive team, a really good offensive team, and a really fun team to watch. And I just don't know what team can stop these guys, man, because James Harden's hard enough to stop. Of course, you can double him, but if you double him, he can give it the Wall, who can full-on sprint towards the basket, and you're going to have a defender to come over and help the guy that John Wall just drove past. Well, at that point, right after they double team James Harden, then he passes the Wall. I mean, the floor is gonna be so open at that point. They can just pass it around the perimeter, and they're gonna find an open three-point shooter. And when it comes playoff time, I think defense is gonna have a really, really, really hard time guarding this Rockets team. Not to mention that the way they can stagger their minutes, they can have an elite playmaker and an elite big man on the floor at all times. At all times. There should never be a reason, unless they're up by 20 plus, that Wall and Harden are both out of the game. There should always be one of them on the court, paired with one of their elite big men, whether it be Christian Wood or DeMarcus Cousins. Because, I mean, let's be honest, when you have a great playmaker and a great big man, very easy buckets come out of that time and time again, especially against teams that don't have a top defense in the league. The one thing I would say I like the most about the John Wall and James Harden pairing is just their proven experience and proven leadership. I mean, for James Harden, we've seen him be the leader of the Houston Rockets for the better part of a decade. And you can say what you want about him, about how he hasn't been to the finals or whatever. He should have won the championship. I mean, it's not his fault Chris Paul got injured that year. But he's been a great leader so far, in my opinion. And John Wall, we've seen him as the number one option, lead the Wizards to the second round 3 times in about his 5 years going to the playoffs. And they made it to a Game 7. We're almost in the conference finals once. So now that John Wall's the second option and he doesn't have to be the first option, I think that is huge, because John Wall has proven to be a good first option on a great team. So if he can be a second option, this is definitely a championship team, man. But you see, the one thing that this Houston Rockets team has that didn't have last year is they actually have defense, man. I think Wall's a lot better defender than Westbrook. And not to mention that they can defend centers finally. They have a center, and he is a great defender, just like Clint Capella was. I don't know if you remember, but when they played Clint Capella with Chris Paul and James Harden, they were amazing. Their first year with Chris Paul, they were like 50-4 when all three of them played. So now you have a defender that's just as good as Clint Capella, but he's actually good at offense. He can space the floor, he can score on the side, he can score from anywhere on the court, honestly. And Christian Wood was just such a steal. He's literally Clint Capella with a jump shot. That's all he is. And John Wall's a younger, more athletic version of Chris Paul, pretty much. Might not be as good of a shooter, but, I mean, if you look at it that way, this team took the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant in 7 games. So now I'm looking at this team, and it's literally the younger, more rejuvenated version of this team, man. They still got P.J. Tucker. They still got Eric Gordon. They still got James Harden. They got their new Chris Paul. They got their new Clint Capella. They got plenty of role players. This team isn't missing anything. I really like their coach. I've just been listening to interviews by their coach, the stuff he said, what he's doing out there, the plays he's calling. He's a huge upgrade from Mike D'Antoni. Like, Mike D'Antoni may be a floor raiser in terms of he knows what to do to go out there to make your team from a bad team to a good team. But his offense is so simple that once you get to the playoffs, coaches just pick it off every time. And he never gets to the NBA Finals, as we saw time and time again by Mike D'Antoni. But all in all, y'all, I think it's going to be a slow start for the Houston Rockets. I mean, they're 3-4 at the moment. But with all the offseason stuff that happened, with the James Harden stuff, there's still distractions on the team, and I fully expect this team maybe even be 15-15. But once they get things figured out, I expect this team to be a top 3 team in the Western Conference, and I expect them to contend for the NBA championship this year. They may just get to the second round. They may get to the conference finals. They may make it to the finals. They may win the championship. I'm not saying they are the NBA champions, but I think they have a damn good chance of winning it. Alright, that's all I got time for y'all today, guys. If you like the video, please hit that like button. And if you want to, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We make a lot of NBA content. So if you like that, then I think you'll enjoy it. Anyways, that's all till next time, guys. Peace out.